Christian Guzman, even Natty. Did you like that or no? Did you see any of that stuff or no?
No, well, a little bit. Like, who was it? Was it Greg Doucette that was posting about that recently?
Derek was as well.
Derek was. Okay. I haven't seen more plates, more dates. More dates, more plates. I haven't seen his Natty or not, Christian Guzman.
So but, yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's so hard to say. So he like a crazy transformation recently, right? Was it like 11 weeks, and he cut down and added like a good amount of like muscle too. It was something like that, right?
Yeah. So pretty much, like he did like a clickbait title of like my anabolic transformation. Didn't mention anything about anabolics throughout the whole video. Didn't mention like him taking any of that stuff. And then so pretty much like Derek from More Plates, More Dates said like, you know, he's obviously there for the data, and he looks at like the data from before and after stuff. And so background, Christian Guzman started pretty big on Gymshark, pretty much OG like fitness influencer. He's 29 years old, so a year younger than Roman. Yeah, a year younger than Roman, and then a year older than me. So he's been, I think he competed his first show at 19 years old. So it's been about 10 years of like, you know, competing here and there. I don't know if he competed every year, but from last year to this year, pretty much Derek pointed out the biggest concern / thought is like he was dieting down to like 169, 170 in like being stage ready. And this year, when he cut down for summer shred for his bodybuilding show, he's like 182, 83, but show ready. So pretty much the idea is, did he gain 10 pounds naturally within a year to be show ready? And like if you look at like the last year photos and videos before like this year, like he just looks thicker, his back looks a lot bigger, like his abs are more defined, and I'll tell you like this, like within a year, if I competed again in 2016, I doubt like I would be show ready like 10 pounds heavier. Like there's like no way. But also that was when I was 21. So, I mean, obviously that was like 8 years ago or 7 years ago, sorry. But like the difference is that 1 year within 10 pounds of being show ready. So, Roman, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, okay. So if we're going to do Natty or not, like, let's go. So question, right? Is it possible to naturally add 10 pounds visibly to your frame within a year? Is that possible?
Maybe.
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say maybe also.
Maybe.
He's 10 years in, right? So he's like on like the like
peak, right? Almost.
Well, I would say like long-term, like intermediate to like advanced level, right? Yeah. Because if he is natural, he's kind of short too. Like he's like 5'7" or something like that.
Actually, I looked that up too. I looked it up as I was watching the video. 5'9". Actually, he's not that short.
Oh wow. Okay. So yeah, I mean that's not that like.
And I'm 6'1", so.
Yeah, in comparison, you look at somebody like Nick Walker. I think Nick Walker is like 5'7", 5'8", and Nick is like 293 pounds. I mean, I'm like taking like, you know, the mutant versus like one, but like it is instructive, right? Like Nick Walker, clearly like not natural. He says like, yeah, I use all these different anabolic like compounds, blah blah blah, all this stuff. Christian Guzman, like, you know, people always say like, you know, probably not natty, all this stuff. So yeah, if we start with the premise that maybe it's possible, what the hell happened? So at least because I haven't seen Derek's video yet, I'll have to check it out. Shout out More Plates, More Dates. .com. I love that he does that still for every video. He looked super flat and like pretty, I would say like pretty out of shape for Christian Guzman, like in the thumbnail of like the photo on the left, and then on the photo on the right, obviously he looks like super full and lean, like lean and all get out, like shred city. So how the hell could he get there? He could be at like a weight where he's like, you know, somewhat like overweight, little fluffy, like, you know, his off season doesn't really care. But like, why wasn't he like full or filled out? He might not have been like working out that hard. He could have been like dedicating time to his business, for example. And then how does he go from that photo on the left over to like the photo on the right? I might have to do that like reverse because it's always flips it, but you get the point. Where he's like shred city. So what in like one condition, he could have like totally missed his peak. He could have like totally like fucked up the peak. Whereas he tried like a water loading strategy, for example, and like just totally missed the mark. Or he could have over dieted because he was like, man, it's not like, I'm not seeing it. And he just could have gotten like flatter and flatter and flatter and flatter. And so he like essentially like messes up the peak in 1 year. And then the next year he like hits it, right? That, I mean, on average, I think that the general recommendation is like you can improve between like 1 to 5%. So that right there could have like his muscles being full of like glycogen because he like hit the carb load like just right. That could be that like 8 to 10 pounds right there just because of a proper peak and like a totally fucked up peak. Yeah. So it could be the difference of just the peak, for example. It could be like maybe his like training was stale the year before and he like wasn't making any progress, whereas he like made some changes and like he was really able to get back into it. So like the 2 to 3 pounds of actual weight of like muscle that he added in the year, like that's probably like semi reasonable, like maybe max of 5 pounds, like for natural in your 10th year, like that's like probably like the upper echelon of natural, what's possible. And then like you combine that with a peak, like, is it possible? Like, I don't know, maybe, for sure. That's the thing with like social media that's like so killer and so important for people to realize that like you see these photos of like these fitfluencers and like they look absolutely unbelievable. And some of them don't even touch that shit up, which is like so cool because it's like, damn, you're shred city. But like you might be seeing them at their absolute best lighting, like best peak possible. And like on average, they might look like quote unquote 10% worse, meaning like a little bit more fluffy, abs not as defined, like you can't see like the striations, like their pecs and their quads and their glutes, etc. So keep
in mind it also too, like they went over his like YouTube video, and I don't know about you, but it's kind of hard to edit like a frame like that and like look like outrageous too, because he did go over like a YouTube video too, and not just like the Instagram post.
I'll definitely have to check it out so that I have opinion, but I would say that like totally from a natural perspective, is that easy to do? Not easy. Is it possible to do? I think like maybe, for sure. I think he's like one of those people that kind of like prides himself on being natural. Like Matt Does Fitness, for example, has been doing videos with Derek from More Plates, More Dates, and he's like Derek's come up with this like strict like USADA platform, like United States Doping Agency platform, which he has to get tested. He gets randomly tested. He gets like all of these different markers, like Derek breaks it down. And Matt has come up both times as being natural. And like his arms are freaking insane. Have you seen Fitness?
No, I haven't seen it yet, no.
Oh man, he's freaking, I'll send it to you. He has like absolutely ridiculously phenomenal shape, and at least like as of now that like he's natural. Like remember, there are although few, there are Ronnie Coleman's of the world that are natural, like not Ronnie Coleman size when he was like when he was enhanced, but like look at before he like claims he started to use, I think he got up to 220 something.
Yeah,
he looked like a freaking Greek god. It was like absolutely unbelievable. His shape was like out of this world. And like, yes, he did end up gaining 70 additional pounds of muscle after he did start to go like the enhanced route. But he was like, his genetics are freaking like top of the line. So there are going to be other individuals, maybe not as like big, like as like much muscle as Ronnie Coleman, but like it is possible to have like freaks of nature, people that are like 5'9", 5'10", like 200 pounds, and they're natural. Like, is that going to be like the average person? No, like absolutely not. Like, I'm feeling myself to be at like 160 and like have some muscle on me, you know, like I've got average genetics, maybe like just above average genetics if I'm like being like, generous to myself. I don't know. What do you think about it, buddy?
Yeah, so to compare, so 7 years ago when I did compete, 6'1", my first show I competed at 163, 165 pounds. And then my second show, which was 7 months later, I actually competed at like 159, 160. So I am like, what, 4 inches taller than him or 3 inches taller than him. But it's like what Romo was saying. I think also too, like Romo was saying, like last year or the year before, he could have hit like a not as good peak when it came to like conditioning, and like all the other variables that go into it. Because if you think about it, like 7 years, like 10 years of competing, like he competed like even longer than me and like consistently competed. Like, so he started at 19, I started at 21. So, he's probably already built a lot more muscle mass than a lot of natural bodybuilders. And like we were saying, like 179 is not like when we say it out to like the world, like people are like, man, that's really light for someone that's in bodybuilding. But you got to realize, like in the natty world, like that's definitely more feasible than like 220 pounds. Like once you get over like 200 pounds as a natural lifter, is it natural? Like the only person that's like been questionable forever is like Doug Miller, because he's like the most outrageous like natural bodybuilder ever. Yeah, yeah, and I've seen him in person at the Arnold, and he's absolutely ridiculous in
Really?
person. Yeah, in person and in social media. So the guy's one. So my buddy's, long story short, my buddy's girlfriend that went to school out there in Ohio or Ohio, what, maybe it was Ohio, I don't freaking know, one of the Midwest states. And one of the friends that she was like working out with, her friend actually works at a shop that's like pretty much like affiliated with Doug Miller. So like he was working the shop, and then I saw her at like the Arnold, and like I should have asked to get introduced to Doug Miller, but I didn't. But he was like standing like a foot away from me or 2 feet away from me. Yeah. Yeah, so this kid was like working at a shop. I don't know if he still does. I do follow him on Instagram. He's a pretty big lifter. Like he's natty. But back to the point is like, is it possible? Yes. On the pictures alone, it's like kind of easier to tell. Actually, kind of easy but hard to tell like how big someone looks, because like Roman was saying, like the lighting and stuff. But like also too, another thing that Derek went into really heavily is like, supposedly like this was like one of his hardest years being an entrepreneur, like sleeping in the office, not sleeping at all, and probably being high stressed. With that being said, as a natty, like I know like my body, like especially when I was getting into that conditioning, I know my body reacted a lot when it came to like a lot of stress, a lot of like if I did like miss some sleep. But like, see, the thing is, when I was competing, like I was like mild stress, and like I would sleep like 7, 8 hours all the time. So it's like it's like one of those things is like that's another area he was looking at pretty deeply. And if you know by now, like sleep's very important. Managing stress is really important. So if you're like not doing those appropriately, your body will not function appropriately, because the fact that like your body's probably fighting off those muscles, and it's probably more adaptive to get like fat added onto your tissues instead of muscles, or keeping the muscle, I should say. So he did bring up a good point on that, which would be kind of hard to say to like look at like one of his best peak bodies. So I'm really curious. I feel like he's gonna mention something one of these days. I feel like also too, someone noticed like in the comments that he doesn't post like anything with the word natty in it anymore. So like none of his posts say like natty, natural, any of that stuff anymore. So I don't think he would lie, because I don't think he really needs the money anymore. So it's like, even if he said like he took like a PED cycle or like an anabolic cycle, like, like maybe maybe that's just his thing. Maybe he just wants to maybe step into another realm. Maybe he wants to eventually like compete in the IFBB, like because maybe he just notices that like he maybe has like the genetics for it, and he competes at the physique level. So I mean, I don't know. It's just like one of those things, but it's like always fun looking over these things because it's like people probably don't think he's not natty because based on like being 180 pounds. That's just like another point of like I wanted to get across because I feel like because he's 180 pounds, people are like, why would he ruin his body taking like drugs, or why he wouldn't be ruining his body at 180 pounds? It's just because you don't really know the difference. And when you, like Roman was saying, Nick Walker, Ronnie Coleman, like if people look like that more often, like they obviously hop on like drugs faster because they have it. Like they know they have it. Like in what Roman was saying, Ronnie Coleman, he was doing powerlifting before he did bodybuilding, and someone pretty much said like, hey, I'll give you a free gym membership if I help you coach, if I coach you to a bodybuilding show. Like that's how he started getting in bodybuilding. He didn't even get in bodybuilding because I mean, I don't know how he thought internally, but if I looked at myself and I looked like that at like 18 years old and I wasn't on drugs, like pretty much I'd be like, oh shit, like maybe I should get into bodybuilding. But see, the thing is, some people just don't care enough. And then like obviously there's people out there that notice things. Like me at the gym the other day, there's this guy who's like completely shredded. Like he's like maybe like a $160, $170 like shredded in like vascular. And he was on the bike doing some cardio with a friend. And I went up to him and I'm like, I asked him, I'm like, are you competing for a bodybuilding show at all? And I think he was he had a pretty strong accent, so I couldn't tell where he was from, but he was like, no, he goes, I don't compete, I've never competed in bodybuilding ever. And I told him, I'm like, buddy, you need to look into a show. I was like, you look really, your muscle like bellies are really nice. You're in the conditioning. If he dropped like maybe 5 pounds, he probably could compete in a bodybuilding show. And he was like absolutely diced. And he was like probably like 5'5", 5'7", around there. And I told him, and I was like, and there might be people out there that just don't even care or don't even know. And if you tell them, like, maybe that's a reason to push someone to more success. So I know I kind of rambled on there at the end, but
no, yeah. No, there's another guy that I follow in the natural bodybuilding world. His name's like Dirk Merritt, something like that. Alberto was his coach, and his like claim is that he's like, it's hard for him to like gain weight, but he was like, I can get shred city like no problem. And like his freaking detail and like his like muscle is like absolutely absurd. And like he's natural, so obviously he's like a small guy. Like he's probably like 155, 165 pounds, like stage ready. But like the detail in him, like his freaking Christmas tree and his lower back, like when he does like a back double bicep, is like, what the actual F? Like it is so absurd. So like some people just have the genetics where they can just be like lean as fuck and they're just like, I'm good. Like,
yeah.
There's like no problem here. Pardon the curse there. Sorry.
I check off. It's not for kids, so you're good.
Nice. Sorry, kids.
But no, are you talking about Kenyon or Ken or whatever his name is?
No, he's a beast too. I'll have to send you.
Do you think Kenyon is, or whatever his name is?
It's hard to say. That would be like a very interesting natty or not.
Kids like 19 or 20 years old still.
I know. I think he just has like unreal freaking genetics. And he's been doing it since like I think he was like 14 or something like that. And like even some of his like earlier earliest like bodybuilding days, his shape is like absolutely unreal. So I think he just has like elite genetics when it comes to that. But yeah,
I'm glad you brought up like he's been lifting since 14 years old. I mean, we could switch to that real quick before we end it. Obviously, I knew we wanted to talk about two other things, but this is just how it goes in this world. But like, it's so funny. It's so funny, and how, like, I remember I hate that like we had to get older to understand this and like pay attention more. But like I remember as a kid, you know, I was watching a bunch of Arnold movies, John Claude Van Damme, and like I always got fascinated on how like fast like John Claude Van Damme can move and how strong he was on his feet. And then I watched like Arnold movies and I was like, damn, this guy, like I watched Commando, Terminator, like all those movies where he's just like even though he wasn't competing at the time, this was like obviously like 10 years afterwards, but like he was just like out of this world in shape. And I remember like because I had three older brothers and I always wanted to lift at a young age, but my mom, my doctor, they always said like wait till you're like 12, 15 years old, 14 years old, and wait till you're in high school. And like all those you know, it's just like I hate it to the point where it's like, man, I really wish like I could have been in the gym at like 10, 12 years old. And I feel like I probably would have been in a lot better shape because it would have been a longer lifespan when it comes to like lifting it's in general. But like I'm glad to the point where we understand like for kids, as long as it's in a healthy manner and a safe manner, like lifting for kids is like it's okay. It's like never not gonna hurt. Like I remember it's because like again, I was a basketball player and I was the tallest brother and like I was getting taller and taller as I was growing up. And like they're like, it's gonna stunt your growth. It's gonna stunt your growth. You're gonna get hurt. You're gonna get hurt. And like it's just like crazy. And I'm glad you brought it up because it's like something I don't think we ever talked about it, but like if you're listening and you have kids and if you're listening and you want kids in the future, like if they like lifting and exercising and like strength training, like get them into it as soon as possible. Make sure it's safe and like let them do it because the fact that is like they like I'm pretty sure they proved it wrong like scientifically. Like I'm pretty sure like Katie Hogan and like Jessie Burdick, like their girls like lift. Like I can't tell you how many awesome like parents I see like the kids like squatting like you know 50 pounds as like a 30-pound-year-old kid. Like Mark Lobiner's like kid is like 12 years old, deadlifted like 185. And I'm like, holy shit! Like I'm like, damn, yeah. So
that's so cool. I think Aaron Horschig talked a little bit too. Squat University.
Yeah.
I think he talked about like what like the previous like thoughts were or like hypotheses or theories around like growth plates like closing like on your bones, like especially your long bones, like your femur and like your tibia and like fibula, etc. And he like talks about how like, okay, this was a concept back then, but this is like now. Whereas it's like, and it's not like a non-risk too, because I think it's that too, because like let's say like you were to break your femur, which is like incredibly freaking hard to do, but like it is possible. Then like could that like potentially stunt your growth? I think that is actually something he talks about. But like the likelihood of that happening, like that shit could happen like if a kid is just like riding their bike, for example, like
yeah, or playing football.
Life happens. So it's like, what do? You teach like proper technique and whatnot. You allow them to like look into something like based off of like what their like likes, interests, hobbies are, etc. And you just like provide proper guidance wherever you can. And that's kind of like the best you can do from that perspective.
Yeah, and like you were saying is like I see my one brother break his ankle in front of my face playing basketball. I've seen my brother's wrist almost snap off playing football. Like it was like two-hand touch and his wrist just broke and his hand was just gone. His hand had like no motion at all. And but like it's just like stuff like that. It's like yeah, it's crazy that like parents didn't want kids to like weightlift and like you know, do athletic things like that. But like then again, they're letting us play football, hockey, where to the point where it's like, you know, there's been kids with a hockey puck and it like breaks their shin, breaks their in you know before like the whole face mask in hockey, like their teeth were just getting jammed up, they were getting broken jaws, like people getting, but like it's just like crazy, like we thought that was okay, but we didn't think it was okay to like maybe load a bar on their back so they can squat heavier so they can maybe jump higher, run faster, jump off the ground faster if they're playing football, basketball, like all that stuff. So,
I know, crazy.
did you when did you start weightlifting?
I want to say that I was in the gym for the first time maybe when I was like 9 or 10.
Really?
I think I bench pressed like 75 pounds, 85 pounds, something like that. And I probably only weighed like 60 something.
Dang, dude. I honestly, I'd have to say like maybe like either 13 or 14 or maybe even 15. Like I don't even.
Yeah, and also I think we had like for gym, we did weight training, I think in 7th and 8th grade. It was a very short, it was like a week both years. So I think that was like both 13 and 14. When 14, we did that in gym. And then from 14 on, I trained like crazy, insanely hard, like maybe like even harder than I did like pre-hernia. Yeah, so like 14 through 18, I trained like an absolute animal, but like I think I probably destroyed myself too much. And a lot of it was like in the context of like power development and strength. You know, a lot of stuff that would be like we'd cycle down to like a 3x2 or something along those lines, a 4x2. And then we would test, you know, we would do like 1 rep maxes like per quarter or whatever, and we would test to see like, you know, how strong our squat was, how strong like our bench was. We didn't really do deadlift. It was all like trap bar stuff. But yeah, so pretty young.
You know what's crazy is since I played basketball like growing up, we used to go to like my junior high, like all like the alum, and like we would practice with like either the new kids or we would play like games by ourselves and just use the gym. Now they don't do any of that stuff because they're just so like insurance. They're like, oh my God, like insurance, like blah, blah, blah. So like we can't really do it these days. But like I remember going in there and like, cause we used to play with our old basketball coach. Like he would tell us like, hey, come by anytime at this time, like, and you guys can play basketball for like 2, 3 hours. Like, no, don't worry about it. But like we went in there, and like, and this is my junior high, so it was only 7th and 8th grade. They have like a new build of like a gym and like weightlifting, all this like weightlifting stuff. And I'm like, bro, what you guys could have this stuff back in the day. We had like none of that stuff. The only workouts we did involve like pretty much like cardio. Like
Yeah.
that's the only workouts we did in school was like cardio, besides like high school, obviously. But like I think before high school, like nothing. I didn't do any of that stuff.
Yeah, we got such a dope gym set up. So like the gym
And
that
this is when you were a kid too?
yeah, when I was a kid. So going into high school, we had like, it was like a dungeon. It was like old school freaking like Gold's Gym type equipment. That like weight room bed, it literally burnt down. Somebody set it on fire. Like, no, I'm being a little hyperbolic, but somebody did set it on fire.
They missed that. They missed that 225-pound bench.
Yeah. It's pretty much, they just gasoline, like, burn the whole thing down. Then I don't remember what happened sophomore year. I think we're kind of in and out of different spaces. But I believe junior year, there's always freaking construction going on at my high school. But junior year, we got like insane freaking Olympic weightlifting sets. Like like bumpers and shit like that. Like, you know, the big thick bumpers. But like the platforms were like dope, like, you know, solid like wood floors with like the rubber like sides. The adjustable like rack set, so it could be like with the safety guards for bench, for squat, rack pulls, whatever the heck you want to do. It had like, you know, pull up bars like way up here type dealio. Not like a kind of different from a like a rogue like rig, not like a rig, like a little different, but it was still like a really nice setup for high school. And we freaking used to just like beast on that. It would be like on lower body days, it would be because we operated off like a 4 lift day schedule. It would be like back squats, power cleans, like high pulls, And then we would go into accessories like leg extensions, ham curls, like calf raises, neck machine, like that kind of stuff. So it was pretty dope. We had a lot of like sick equipment, and it's just because like my hometown, I was like very blessed and lucky. Like there's a lot of people like in the area that are like really smart, I think, and like they'll do certain things. They'll join like the town committee, and they'll like try to keep like town taxes like property taxes like super low, like ridiculously low, which is amazing. And at the same time, like there's a lot of philanthropy, so they'll just like donate a lot to the school, and we had some like dope equipment because of it.
That's awesome, buddy. I love it.
Yeah.
I just want to end on one note. Yes, Roman's shirt does say playing under the influence, not above the influence. I don't know what they teach him in mass, but like you should be playing under the influence, but beats me, guys. That's all I got out of this podcast. No, I'm just kidding. But guys, thanks for tuning in. We love to hear your feedback. Comment on our YouTube channel. Comment on our posts on Instagram. Follow us on Instagram at Gainz Podcast, TikTok Gainz Podcast. We're on all audio and video platforms, and we'll see you guys on that next one. Peace.